And here we are, a very, very special event. It is a virtual live book launch. I'm Boni Wagner-Stafford from Ingenium Books, and I'm here with Dina Marie. We are launching today My Fat Pants Don't Fit. Hi, Dina Marie.
Hello, Boni.
It's been a while coming, this event, hasn't it?
It has. It feels, I don't know, it feels long and short in some ways, but yeah, I'm excited.
Exactly. There's been lots to do, long and short. You know, we started this journey together. Goodness, I was thinking about this, back in January.
That's why, like, everyone's like, oh, is it a really long process? And I was like, actually, I wrote the first chapter right before Thanksgiving, and I read it to my mom at Thanksgiving. So, like, I know some people take some, like, years and years, but I feel like we got it done really quick. So
yeah, and it's not a really long book. It's a fairly quick read, but still, you did a really good job. The story is interesting and fun, and we kind of barreled through. I know originally when we started working together, we were looking at doing physical book launch events around this time of year. Remember that? Remember those days?
Yeah, I know how things have changed. So yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to do a couple of things today. We are going to chat a little bit, as we have been, about the process, about the story, and the impetus behind my Fat Pants Don't Fit. And we're going to have a reading from you. You've chosen a section where you can do where you'll read a little bit and give folks a little bit of a treat. We're happy to take questions. If anybody has questions about the book or the process, and we'll obviously answer the questions. And this is live right now, but it is also going to be available for replay anytime and on all kinds of events. And Heather Costa says, hi, Dee.
That's my best friend. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather.
You'll hear her. I didn't use any names in the book, but she might or might not be in it.
She may or may not be in it. Exactly.
I didn't use names, but I think if you know me, you would know who she was in the book.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start with, tell me a little bit about the story. I mean, I know the story because, I worked with you on the book, but many people listening or watching may not know the story. And so My Fat Pants Don't Fit. What's that all about?
So it's really weird. It's actually more how it started. And then I kind of backed into it. I went through a really bad breakup for the first time in my life, falling in love. And my therapist had challenged me to write a letter to this person, not to ever give it to them, but to write a letter to help me express my emotions. And through this letter, I was like, well, how did I even get on this journey to get to this point where I'm writing this sad breakup letter? Or after the breakup letter, I should say. But so I really started to think back, where did my journey start? And I'm 38 years old. I've lived all those years, but I really narrowed it down to 8 years ago when I first moved to North Carolina, or was in the process of moving to North Carolina. And the book actually starts on the worst day of my life. I won't share what happens on that day, but I thought, if you're going to start a book, why not start it on the worst day ever and kind of go from there? So it follows me on this journey of my life. Many people who know me, who've been friends with me for years, knows that I used to be very overweight. It follows me through my divorce, finding self-love, moving through the process of self-hate. I never realized I was actually in self-hate until I finally found self-love, losing a bunch of weight, and then falling in love and having that fall apart, and then having to start back over again. So it's been a busy 8 years. So.
Right. And you also tell stories in there. You're a bit of an entrepreneur. You've had a couple of businesses, and those businesses play a little bit of a role in the story as well, don't they?
Yeah. I think for a lot of different reasons. I think it shows my support system. I have a really great support system from my family and my friends. And so you get to see a little sneak peek of that. But I also just think it shows my drive and perseverance. Being an entrepreneur is a really hard thing. And I decided to do it twice, with a little bit of corporate in between to kind of help balance things out. But I have some neat stories about some of the businesses I owned and what I did with them. I don't know if everyone knows, what I did. So it's kind of interesting to see who I worked with and what I did during them and how things change between business to business. So
it's also interesting because your book is, there's no story like yours. Yours is a very unique story, but it's also a unique book because it's the journey as you outlined from the worst day of your life and through all of those significant events. And then the businesses that you started play a little bit of a role. But the last section of the book is very practical in terms of it's putting how do I want to say this? Putting legs on the inspiration that we get through the rest of the story is, oh my goodness, look at what she accomplished. She did this, and then she's running marathons, and she was doing that, and now she's doing this. And you actually have developed a process to organize yourself through the achievement of goals. And you enumerate that in the book as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when, after the breakup, I decided I had to get my life back under control. My health was a mess. Even though I hadn't put on all of my weight, I had put on about 30 pounds, which is a lot after losing almost 150. My finances were horrible. So my health and eating habits were bad. And I needed to focus on these different areas. And I thought, well, what better way to hold myself accountable than putting myself out on social media? And little did I know, I was just trying to hold my own self accountable. I would get private messages like, I want to do what you're doing and I want to get inspired. So being a super visual person, I decided that I was going to just kind of create this program for myself. And then people kept asking, well, how do I do what you do? So it's neat. In the book, I have the goal setting sheet that I use because we talk in the book, I break my life down into 90-day segments. I lose focus quickly. And so 30 days is too short to do anything. A year is like, holy cow, that's like way too long for me to focus on one thing. So I break it down and I talk about you can carry your goals over all these different cycles if you need to, but focusing on these 90 days. And that's what worked for me. And then every 90 days I get to start over. You don't get any do-overs during the 90 days because you don't get do-overs in life. So it made this compact like goal setting. So there is a copy of the sheet in the book, and then you can download a free sheet on just me, dinamarie.com, along with some of the trackers that I use for my savings account, for my food tracking, for my fitness tracking. So you can check all those out as well, things I built to help me.
Now, I think I just posted the link. I'm going to show this. Tell me if you can see. I'm going to just do this. I'm putting you back up on the screen. I'm going to see there. Is that the right link?
Yep. Just me, dinamarie.com. Yeah.
Great.
So
okay.
You can download from there.
Visit there and you can get the free goal sheets and download and there, you've got this way with visual things. So the things that you created, the graphics that you created and even the goal sheets, like you think, ooh, goal sheets, like how boring is that? But yours, they're cute. They look nice. You've designed them really well. So now I got to figure out how do I get there. We are take that down. So the process, we're going to have you read in just a little bit, but I wanted to, if anybody that's watching or listening is curious about what you had to go through to get the book done, was it harder, easier? Was it what you expected? What was the experience like?
Yeah, people ask me this all the time. I tell them I'm very thankful for you because I think online it does make it seem like it's really easy, like to self-publish a book and everything. And I explained that we worked on this hybrid model together, and I'm pretty savvy. Like I can see something and figure it out, but there's so many things along the way that you said that I was like, yep, nope, didn't know about that. So like, I think that was helpful, but as much as I like being in control. it was so nice to just turn it over to you and trust that you and Rachel, who's the editor, had my best interest at heart. And that made a big difference to me. So I think that's what helped with the process. I think there's a lot of really great self-publishing sites out there if that's what somebody wants to do, but I didn't realize all the nuances of stuff that went into it. Like I was like, I didn't even know that you were supposed to do some of the stuff. So.
Right, exactly. Well, there is a ton to it. You mentioned Rachel, and she's one of our editors at Ingenium Books, and we do nonfiction at Ingenium Books, so there's a lot of very serious stuff that we do, and your story is very serious, but I have to say that it is a very rare occurrence. So, you send in your manuscript, I'm doing my review, and I have to say, are we going to accept you or not? And I remember reading, I printed it out and I was reading it in bed. And my husband, of course, is trying to sleep. And I'm laughing out loud and tears rolling down my face. Yeah, okay, I got to do this book. So everyone might not have the same sense of humor as me, but it has your voice very clearly. Yeah. Some people don't write the way they speak. You write the way you speak, and I think for the kind of book that we've ended up with, it works really well. And a shout out, I wanted to give a shout out to Rachel. She and I just did a little session a week ago talking about editing stuff, but she also enjoyed the process. So how do you feel? Are you ready for a reading?
Sure, I'm ready.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you've chosen, me and, the folks that are listening and watching, and why you've chosen this particular excerpt.
Yeah, it was actually really hard to choose what I was going to read about, because if it was up to me, we would just have 3.5 hours of story time and I would just read you the book cover to cover.
That's called the audiobook, and it is coming.
Yes, the audiobook is coming. But it was really hard, because when it's a story about your life, it's really hard to just pick up randomly. And I feel like a lot of the pieces out of context maybe wouldn't have made sense, or they would leave you hanging too much. So I decided to do something. This piece of the book is really recent. So people who do know me or have known me for the last even few years, they would probably recognize pieces of this. So I essentially start the book on the chapter called Broken. It's in part 2 of the book of Grit and Moxie. And it's after I've lost my weight and I've gone through my divorce and I'm out on my own, and I pretty much think I'm doing the best I can do. And I meet someone and I fall in love, and this is how it all falls apart. And it all falls apart from here. But at the end, I really realized that while I thought I was loving myself before, I actually didn't know what that meant until I really challenged myself through this. And this chapter is the process of me going through that. So.
Okay. Yeah. I'm ready.
All right. Me too.
Anytime.
So the chapter starts out with a conversation. In the book, I refer to this person as him. Like I said, I don't use any names. And I just am finishing. I'm on the phone with my mom, because like when anything bad in your life happens, you call your mom first, and that's just what you do. So here we go. So this is the first, after I'm crying and hyperventilating, I say, "He's dead inside and doesn't love me anymore. This man I loved so much. This man I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, who'd taken care of me during my surgery, who changed my bandages, who made me grilled cheese sandwiches naked, who cuddled me, who shared a home with me, who said I was the most beautiful woman in the world, and the best thing that ever happened to him, didn't love me anymore. What happened? I lost myself, my confidence, my fearlessness, my independence, my strength. Right from the beginning, I craved him like a drug. Before I started NAC, I'd sit at my corporate job and lose focus because I was thinking about him. He had become my addiction, so much so that I turned a blind eye to his bad behavior. All I could think in that moment were the good times, forgetting all the bad times, about how he turned everything into my fault. I forgot how I apologized things I should have never been sorry for, like using cooking spray instead of butter when making eggs. About how lately he only seemed to love me when he was drinking, how he lied and tried to hide it, about how he barely wanted to talk to me anymore, about how he stopped sharing anything from his world and how when I asked, he would get annoyed. Somehow I found myself at the Starbucks drive-thru. I don't even remember driving there. The sweet girl at the window looked at me, at my red, puffy, ugly, crying eyes, tears streaming down my face, and my puggy in the passenger seat looking at me with so much love and confusion, and said the kindest words to me. I'm not sure what you're going through, but know everything will be okay. I'm sure you're a good person. You'll come through this. Your coffee's on me. Sometimes I think about my Starbucks angel and wonder if it ever happened or if I dreamt it. It was just a few weeks before our 2-year anniversary. Yes, only 2 years, but I had made him my world, maybe too much so. Like Selena Gomez says in her song, Lose You to Love Me, I put him first and he loved it. The next morning, I woke up to find the sun shining down on me, laying on the couch in the loft where we kept all the stuff from my apartment, my former life. It was there he created a living storage unit for me until he was done with me, as though I was a placeholder until someone he cared for from his past finally chose him. It was the red flag I had been ignoring. I hadn't trusted her from the beginning, but he assured me. It was my imagination. I was just insecure and crazy. It was it was a beautiful day outside, and all I wanted to do was sleep and cry. My head was pounding from crying the night before. Not even Friends, my favorite show, would bring a smile to my face. He never came to check on me, and I bet he was sleeping like a baby. I headed to the master bedroom. I gently opened the door so it would not creak, and I tiptoed past the foot of the bed. He looked peaceful and comfortable in our king-size bed, his foot peeking out from under the white comforter that I paid for, as a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He had gotten rid of me, and now he had the freedom to love her. And in that moment, I knew he was done, and there was no turning back. I promised myself to not let this relationship continue to define me. He made me feel stupid, like everything that happened was a story I created in my head. I started to doubt myself. Hell, I flat out blamed myself for everything wrong in this relationship with this master manipulator. I said it before, rage and determination will get you far in life. It doesn't mean that I don't feel hurt. It just means that when I have a broken heart, I'm able to put on my big girl pants and save the crying for another day. The next day after a long day of work, I walked through the door and said, I found an apartment. I'll be out in a week. He clearly underestimated and forgotten the strong, independent woman he fell in love with, shocked and stumbled over his words. Well, you don't have to go. Just blah, 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 blah. Nope, I'm good. And that'd be the last time I'd ever see him. Everything I worked for had come crashing down. My health, my relationship, my passion for my business. It was supposed to be ours. My world fell into a million pieces, and all I could do was tell myself over and over that this life in this moment was temporary. I resolved to find another place for me and the puggy to call home long term, to continue to list the business for sale, to find a job I could get excited about, and find and love myself again. In the meantime, I cried and unpacked in the new apartment I found so quickly. I leaned on Friends and laughed and cried and ate tacos and listened to Eddie and his songs and cried and cried. And one day after crying about an hour, I saw a quote online. She remembered who she was and the game changed. And just like that, my pity party for one was over. I put on my running shoes. This would be my therapy. My shoes were dusty. The only action they had seen lately was the inside of a moving box. The soles were worn, but from races I had run long ago. The last time I put on these shoes, almost a year earlier, I was pulled off a half marathon course in Virginia Beach by the Slag and Wagon. It was the first time I'd ever been pulled. I hadn't been ready mentally, emotionally, or physically that day. As I walked down each step of my apartment, I told myself, today is day one. You are a new you. You are the best you, the strongest you. You are a fighter. I had no idea where I was going, how long I'd be gone. I just wanted to clear my head. I've been running for years on and off and never really loved it. I love the idea, but not the work it took. This time, it was different. It wasn't about how fast the mile was, how far I'd run. This time, it was about healing my heart, finding myself. As I ran, I processed. I started running every day. I couldn't wait to hit the open road, just me and my thoughts. I got stronger and faster, and as the tears dried up, I recognized my thoughts been shifting from lost love to rebuilding and rediscovering myself. I created a playlist of all the songs that built me up, including The Fighter by Keith Urban and Carrie Underwood, Can't Hold Us Down by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, and Sorry by the Queen Bee herself, Beyonce. I ran my heart out mile after mile, and when Lizzo's Good as Hell, my anthem, my mantra, my favorite song came on, I shouted the words from the top of my lung, because in that moment on the greenway with the sun beating down on me, sweat dripping down my face, my shirt soaked like I just got out of the shower, I realized I do deserve to feel good as hell. So thank you.
That's fantastic. I've got goosebumps all over again. I've read that once or twice. Lizzo cures all, Aaron says, and Christy Mason says hello. Did you know Steve Warren has said hello too? So that's, you see, I think people are getting a sense that have listening to you that's how you speak. That's how the book is written. It's really very conversational. Your personality drips through it. And that's just one chapter. They're all like that.
Yeah, it was a really weird place because I didn't know, it was hard to start and stop. And so I was like, well, they could listen to a little more. But I feel like, every chapter doesn't always end on a high note. And this is the last chapter before we go into part 3 of the book. Yeah. And part 3 of the book is all about like, what did I do next? How did I create the 90 days and stuff? So this was kind of like the last piece of the me story, and then moved on to more of like the critical thinking of how I was going to build this program for myself to stay on track. So this is kind of the last zinger. So
yeah, no, it's very, and so many relatable, as women we can relate, but I think as people too, so many stories that are just like, oh my God, I've been through something similar, or, I know what that struggle is like. It's very human, very, very connecting. And we've got all kinds of comments here. Anna's clapping, Aaron's clapping, Jamie says she's clapping, she or he, sorry, Jamie, I don't know if it's a girl or a guy. Yeah, Christy got your signed book in the mail today. So, so it's been 6 months. No, it's been longer for you. You and I've been working for 6 months.
It's actually been a year since all of this started. At the end of, it was the breakup took place June 29th, and I moved out on my own the weekend of July 4th. Makes really easy to keep dates if you do it around holidays. You can remember things. But I actually moved July 4th weekend. And so I'm coming up on a year of this journey of all these 90-day segments. The first 90 days ended right around my 38th birthday. So that was kind of fun.
So, and that really does speak to the power of the program that you've implemented and that you talk about in section 3 and your 90-day segments and your goal sheets, is that not only did you pull your life together, you've written and published a book about
it. by total accident.
It must have factored into your 90-day plan somewhere. So yeah, nice job. So Annie, Ella Stafford is saying hi. That's my daughter-in-law. So any tips or suggestions for people? And I'm thinking not about the book process, but about life and about what you've learned from your journey.
Yeah, I think the biggest learning for me, and I talk about this a little bit in the third part, is a lot of times we feel like so many pieces of our life is kind of crumbling around us, because usually if one thing's out of place, other things are out of place, maybe not as bad, but still out of place. So for me, what I talk about was it's really easy for me to be like, I'm going to fix my whole life in one 90-day segment. And like I added financing and budget for the first 90 days. And if you know anything about me, I love to spend money. I hate to budget money. And so like, I got it good enough that everything was working out and good, but then I just left it alone. And then once I got to a cadence where not only was my budgeting fine, I could probably like step it up a notch to put savings and things together. So, but health and fitness has stayed with me this whole time. And not every 90 days do I have an actual, like, I'm going to run this marathon or something. That's my big one right now that I'm working for towards October. So it's on every cycle. But when I'm done with the marathon, it might just be a part of my daily routine, but I might focus on something else. There's 5 areas of our life that I feel like can fall apart the quickest and have, make us the most stress, but they also can create the most happiness if they're done right. So I talk about that in the book, but I think the big thing is, like, don't overwhelm yourself with trying to fix your whole life that maybe took 2, 5, 10, 20 years to fall apart or have these pieces. And then you're trying to solve them all at once. So.
Right. That sounds like good advice. I realize we've forgotten something very important. And that is, we haven't seen the cover.
Oh,
yeah, we have to show the book.
So I should actually have the new cover. This is my original typo cover, so don't read it.
Oh,
but like,
yeah, no, don't talk about that one.
I know. I was like, there's all these pictures of me posing with it, and people are like, there's a typo, and I was like, it wouldn't be mine if there wasn't a typo. But yeah, so it's actually funny when this is the cover. When I originally said, we talked about this title, and it literally just one day I'm in the shower and I was like, yeah, my fat pants didn't fit. Like, and it was just like, it's sprung from there. And so I loved the whole idea of like the tape measure and the goals, and the back has some, just a neat little picture. It does have a picture of me and Bean. Anyone who knows me, Bean, he recently passed, which left a huge hole in my heart, but he was through the thick and thin of almost all of this with me, and my main companion. So it didn't seem, I know we talked about, should we use that picture or not, but it didn't seem right to not use that picture. So I'm so glad we did. So that's our back. So
yeah, and it's a lovely cover. And yeah, we had lots of conversations. We had conversations about the title, and we had about the picture, and the graphics inside, and so many things.
Yeah, I think that's one of the neat things is I'm super visual. I was just going to open up a chapter here. I'm super visual, and like I love that we did these graphics, and I love that they were there. I just thought it added something a little bit special. I actually did them originally just to take up space on the page. I'm not going to lie. I was like, how do I make this a little longer?
Yeah, no, we didn't really need to do that, but it does. It looks nice. It adds a nice little visual element. Well, listen, it has been an incredible journey. I've been honored to be part of it with you. And of course, we're not done yet, because now we're, talking about the book everywhere. And we're at almost 30 minutes. I want to thank everyone who is watching this live.
Thank you. Yeah.
And it'll be available on replay. We're going to post this on your author page. It's on YouTube and Facebook. Obviously, you can always come back to this channel to listen to it. We'll share links to it as well on the other social media channels. And you never know. We just might have to get you back to read another chapter. And then the audiobook is going to be out soon.
The audiobook should be soon. Yeah. So if you just want to hear me talk for 3.5 hours, go for it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Any last parting words?
No, just thank you so much to everyone who supported me, my friends and my family and people who've purchased the book. And I had so much fun signing them this weekend and sending them. I legit never thought that would be a thing I'd be doing, was signing a book I wrote. So I do appreciate everybody's support and so many people sharing on social media for me. So I couldn't have done this without everybody in my journey, and I can't do this next part without everybody's support. So I do appreciate it so much.
I will say one last thing, which is reader reviews are really important for helping tell other people whether the book is appropriate for them. So it's My Fat Pants Don't Fit is available wherever you buy your books. You can go into a bookstore if anybody's physically going anywhere these days. But if you don't see it on the shelf, you can order it. It's available through the catalogs wherever anybody, any bookstore or retailer buys the book, and it's available in online platforms. And then, as we've said, the audiobook will be coming as well. But when you've read it, we would very much appreciate you going to the place where you got your book from and leave an honest review. It's very, very helpful.
Yes, that'd be appreciated.
Yes, excellent. Dina, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Boni.
We are going to sign off for today.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.